Today's video is all about the mental preparation. You have been watching us physically prepare for our journey of the PCT since August 2nd of 2021 when our first video went up. We've shared a little tiny bit about our mental preparation, but not a whole lot. And today we are going to talk all about the mental preparation. Some of it is going to be about the research that goes along with the mental preparation, and we're going to tie research kind of into this, but for the most part we're going to be focusing on the mental preparation because the PCT is a thru hike. It's 5 months out in the wilderness, 1 foot in front of the other, hiking 20 plus miles a day. It's grueling, you're away from home, and there's going to be days where you just want to quit. So these are the things that we have prepared for and we have done to help us stay on trail during those really awful times. I've listened to a bunch of stuff, and a lot of the hikers that have hiked before have said the mental preparation is key. You can, for the most part, go on trail not even physically ready, and as long as you have the mental preparation done, you can make it to Canada. So that is what we are going to discuss with you today. Now, we have mentally been preparing since even before our first video came out. We have been mentally preparing since 2020 when we first decided that we were going to do this, but we have only been physically preparing basically since 2021. So why don't you start us off?
One of the things that we've done is we've had some hard talks. We have literally had some communications with each other about what are we going to do when one of us comes together and says, I'm done. How are we going to be each other's cheerleader? More importantly, how are we going to be each other's cheerleader when we both want to quit on the same day? There's lots of things that can go into these kind of conversations, but we've had them. We've had some hard to heart conversations. We know what each other needs to do to buoy each other up to get us through these hard days. Thankfully, I'm a coach, so I can bring those internally into my own self, but it's when you have to do it yourself, I need somebody to coach me. So I've been teaching her, she's been teaching me. We've both been having some really hard conversations about how we are going to help each other through those really hard days. And let's be honest, we're going to have the bite me moments where I just need to get in there and I just need to have tunnel vision. I just need to get this hard part over so that I can enjoy the rest of it. And we've talked about that. If I have a bite me moment, that's okay. Leave me alone. Ask me again, I'll say bite me or let's keep going. And so those are the great things that we know. Thankfully, we've been hiking long enough and know each other well enough that I think we will be able to cheer each other on and go through those really hard times when basically we want to quit.
Yeah, and something I have to say is I've learned so much with hiking with a partner, and one of the biggest things you can do, whether or not it's a romantic or a platonic or a familial partnership, is communication, both on and off trail. You have to communicate about every single decision, every single fight or argument. You need to talk about it. Otherwise, there's no point. Yeah. It's going to break if you don't communicate. Yeah.
One of the things that I've had to do is I've had to mentally prepare myself for leaving the people here at the house. I've been married for 33 years. I've been a mom for over 30 years. And to leave all of that, I have had to mentally prepare myself to come back to something that isn't necessarily what I left. I know that they're adults, they're grown adults. We have 2 grown children that are going to be here at home along with my husband. And I know they know how to feed themselves. They all went off to college. They all are great people. They know how to order food from Uber Eats, or they can go down to the grocery store down the street. But it's still, I needed to prepare myself for leaving this home environment and leaving my husband. And that has been a real big mental hurdle that I've had to go over, and I keep going over it and keep going over it. I've had to leave a checklist with when the dog needs to be taken into the groomer, when it needs to go to the vet, when do my hydrangeas need to be deadheaded. What about mowing the lawn? I've been doing all that stuff for the last 30 some years. And so I have had to mentally prepare myself as well as my family, leaving my family at home so that they can do those things so that I can feel comfortable being out on trail, because guess what? June's going to come along. Oh, did they remember to fertilize the lawn? Did the dog get taken to the groomer this month? Those things will weigh on me, and those things could be something that might take me off trail because I'm homesick. So in 2020, when she just said, hey, I want to hike the PCT, I immediately sat down, Amazon, what book do you have on PCT? Please send it my way. So I got a couple books, I started reading them, and then she said, hey mom, why don't you come with me? And so then I started really reading them. And I wanted to not just know the nitty gritty about it, but all the other things that came with it in reading the books. And some of these books are very, very data oriented. At mile 250, this is what's going to happen. This is where you're going to cross this road. There's a resupply place here. There's a beautiful gas station here that you can get some great food. Don't expect anything from this town. Send your resupply packages here. That's all wonderful. That's all great. That's all, in my mind, physical preparation. But what about when it gets hard? Mm-hmm. There have been a couple good books that have made it wonderful for us. In fact, one of the best ones is called Pacific Crest Trails. Trials, not trails. Mm-hmm. It's by Zach Davis and Carly Moore. Mm-hmm. And highly recommend that book. We'll talk about it a little bit more in depth, but we've read books. We've read great books. One of our other favorites is the Pacific Crest Trail Handbook. We have an older version. She hasn't come out with her new one. This is Jackie McDonnell Yogi. That's her trail name. She's a triple crowner. You'll hear us talk about her again in another section that she lives on the PCT. I mean, she meets thousands of hikers every year because she's the Triple Crown Outfitters store owner in Kennedy Meadows just before hitting the Sierras. And so she's given us a lot of So this is one of those books that has a lot of data in it, but it also has some great points and the mental preparation, for the mental preparation. She's not the only one. We'll put a list of books here that we found very helpful in our preparations for, especially our mental preparations for the trail. Something else that we've done, of course, I went to the books, she went to YouTube, but of course I follow along YouTube too, is we watched hundreds of YouTube videos of people walking and hiking the PCT or other trails, hiking videos just in general. Of course, there's Darwin on the Trail. There's Homemade Wonderlist, also known as Dixie. There's the Wonder Woman. They're women more my age they're actually triple crowners. I love their just down to earth. They show you the good parts and the bad parts. HCR on the PCT. I always mess up their name, but they're really great. They're another mama and daughter duo that did the trail last year, and that was really good information. Another one of my personal favorites is the Whimsical Woman, Starburst. Oh, yeah. She did really good videos. She hooked it 2019, solo. I think so. Solo woman hiker, and that was really great to learn about. My generation, the first thing you do when you need information on a subject, you YouTube it. That's just my generation. And so the first thing when I was like, oh, what's the PCT? What are trails I want to do? That's what I looked for. So I looked at both Appalachian and PCT because those are the two most known. And then I just kept going and going. These are just a few. And one that I found, my son found it for us, was the Gear Skeptic. And if you ever want to really get into the nitty gritty of your gear and whatnot, watch his. And even though it is about gear, it really helps you mentally prepare because, these are the things that I can do. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do with the gear that I have. So give him a good look. In fact, most YouTube, I watch at 2-speed. I watch at 1-speed, and I take notes. And when I mean I take notes, I take notes. This isn't just from his videos, but a lot of them. Yeah, that's literally all of her notes about the PCT all in one folder and permit stuff and all of that. Now, the next thing that we do is, she reads blogs. I don't read blogs. I've read a few. She reads a few, but I don't know. Do you have anything worth mentioning? Well, and the PCTA .org association, their website, wonderful information, and they can send you off to different places. Yogi's site in and of itself is tons and tons of it's an interwebs, so you just keep going down rabbit holes. So I just type it in and just keep reading. You'll find one that resonate with you and some that don't. Just keep going.
Now, something that we both kind of share and love to do is we listen to podcasts quite a lot. Yeah. Now, I'm a binge podcaster. I will find one podcast that I really like, and then I'll watch from the very first episode, listen from the very first episode to the last. So I really have only listened to 2 hiker podcasts, whereas she has listened to quite a few more. But the ones that I've listened to is the Backpacker Radio podcast. That's 4 years worth of material that I've listened to in the past year, less than, and I'm 4 episodes away from being caught up, and I'm really excited to get caught up. I really want to finish before trail. And the other one is Walking Distance, also done by The Trek, which is a really good one, super informative, and we've both listened to that one and we both really like it. But she does more of the pick and choose the topic of what the podcast episode is on, and that's more what she does, whereas I just binge listen to it. But so she's, every once in a while she'll send me a podcast episode. She's like, I know you won't look at that or look for this on your own, so listen to this, and I'll send her a couple. And so that's kind of what we've been doing. Any other podcasts that you think of?
I think of Hiking Through. It was a woman who wanted to hike in 2020, but the pandemic stopped. But she was doing it for her 50th birthday. She wanted to do something grand, and so that's what she had picked. And so she sat down and interviewed people who had done it, and it was very, very, very thoughtfully done. What gear did they like? Some hard things, some stories on the trail. I really liked her. She's inactive right now, but it's a good thing to go back to the beginning and listen, because the trail, though it does change year to year, it really doesn't change year to year. So. So that's one. Podcasts are great, and they're easy to do when you're out on your training hikes. Plug them in, go.
Or if you're at a job that you can listen to anything, or doing dishes. That was one I always did.
Something else that we did is we turned to Facebook. We typed in PCT Trail, and up comes a whole bunch of groups, and we just joined as many as we could. Some we've exited from, but most of them we've stayed in. Our favorite one so far has been the Yogi. Again,
and we just keep talking about Yogi.
Her book. She has a Facebook group for the year 2022, and we asked to join, and we've been able to ask questions. Not only does she answer, but other people that are in the group that are group experts, that are wonderful, people who've been on the trail, people who are going to be on the trail. We bounce questions off of each other. We have discussions about it. One of my favorite things that she's done is that she's done lives, and she's had guest people on. She has done the resupply. In fact, I've watched every resupply. She did it in 3 sections. 3 sections or 4 sections, I can't remember, because I've watched them so many times I don't remember, but I've taken copious amounts of notes on the resupplies, what towns are good, what inside the town. I thank her greatly for her contribution to
our research,
our research, and to our mental state, because she tells it straight up. She doesn't beat around the bush. She tells it straight up.
Yeah, and as long as you listen through enough of those, you will get little mental nuggets in there, and it'll greatly prepare you for what's ahead. Now, something that I personally love to do, she's done a little bit of it, but not a whole lot. It's more of a me thing. Is I have done a lot of meditation in preparation for the hike. I started doing it as kind of like a New Year's resolution kind of a thing. I wanted to get into meditation, and I've done a lot of breathing exercises. There is a course on the meditation app I use that is all about mindfully walking. So it's thinking about every step, every muscle, feeling if there's any pain, noting if it's real pain or if it's just superficial, if it will go away, kind of taking in your surroundings, experiencing everything around you, and also controlling the breath. And as somebody who is asthmatic, that has been a huge help. I've done a lot of practice with the breathing practices on our hikes or during workouts, and that's helped a lot, even though I did black out during one workout. But that, I was having a really bad day that day anyway. From the moment I woke up, I felt really dizzy and short of breath. So I don't know what, it must have been a fluke that day or something. But I noticed that the breathing meditation has helped a lot on my thru hikes, and I will continue hopefully doing meditation every single day on trail. And I've heard from all of the podcasts I've listened to, a lot of people will say that breathing exercises really help, especially when you're going on an uphill, of course.
And there will be times when there's anxiety of stream crossing, or you're on a ridge, or other things that kind of take your breath away in not such of a beautiful scenic type take your breath away.
They get in your head.
Yeah, so that meditation, I do a little bit of myself, and it helps.
Yeah, being able to clear your head and kind of like take the matter or the like issue that you're dealing with at that moment and kind of just like let it go, and just makes you focus more on yourself and like,
so
I can do this. I can deal with it. And as somebody who has anxiety attacks and panic attacks, that helps. Yeah, and definitely will help mentally throughout the trail. Now the next one I'm really excited for. This one's fun. Why don't you introduce it?
We got to talk to somebody who had hiked the PCT trail in 2020.
Yep.
It's actually a very good friend of ours who actually also happens to be her ex-boss. So we sat down, took him to dinner, and we just chatted everything. And I mean, really picked his brain.
Yeah.
And we got some great information about what to expect, great stories. We asked him about the Sierra. Oh, I'm so dreading the snow and the water crossings. And he said, I had no snow.
Yeah,
and the water crossings Sarah's were like that. So,
he has no help. He started in May, so mid-May, and he was late enough in the Sierra that there was no snow, and the waters were not high.
Something else we've done is we've gone on some pretty tough practice hikes, and I am thankful we've done those practice hikes, not just for the practical, physical, and gear shakedown hikes, but for the mental ones. We've had a couple that are pretty mental, that we've come up to situations where we've had to, I don't want to do this anymore. There's a trailhead. Let's go for it. But we've decided that we were going to stick with it and finished up. Our sister's hike that we did, we had a little water problem, in that the water that we expected to be in some streams were dry. So we had to mentally prepare ourselves for that. And that is one of my fears, is running out of water. So we've had to have discussions about how much water we're going to drink, how much water we're going to take, when we see the water, those things. And there are a couple times where I'm like, oh my gosh, are we going to have water? So those practice hikes, though they are great physically, they also can help prepare mentally. In fact, we just had a mental scare on Mailbox Peak. Go watch it. You'll see what we're talking about.
And just any type of practice hike where you can go into kind of weather conditions or instances that you'll have on trail, and you have the safety of it only being like a 2-day trip or something, a 3-day trip, or even a day hike. Going in those situations can truly help you mentally, because you can think, okay, this is what the situation is going to be like, but heightened maybe a little bit, or lessened, or whatever the situation calls for, and that can really help. Like, our sister trip really opened our eyes to how the water situation is going to be, especially in the desert. We're not desert people. We don't like the heat. We don't like not having any water. We're used to Washington, where we have water everywhere.
Too much.
So anyway, that was really eye-opening to us, especially as people who have not hiked ever in California. So another thing that has been super helpful, especially with the snow, is I was able to do an ice axe training session where I got to learn how to use the ice axe properly, and also how to walk on snow properly. And that has been really helpful mentally. Yeah,
I feel better that she knows, and she has been able to teach me the intricacies of using those tools that we will be carrying, because they're useless, they're dead weight unless you know how to use them. And I'm thankful mentally that makes me feel like, we can tackle the Sierra and the snow, or wherever the snow may be, because it could be anywhere on that trail. And something else that we've done kind of for fun, is we have come up with a list of predictions, and this is, as much as it is a fun exercise, it's also an exercise that mentally you get to think about some of these things that are kind of fun, but also kind of like, I hadn't thought about that, and I probably should think about
those
that.
situations? What would I do in those situations, kind of a thing?
Yeah. So I will, because I don't have my reading glasses on, she's going to read a few of the predictions that we have. We're going to write these down. So this is what we're doing. We're going to each have the same set of predictions, and we're going to write our answers down, and then we're going to fold them up, put them in an envelope. We're going to seal it. We're going to leave it here at the house. And then afterwards, we will open it up and see how many we got right. And this is a very fun thing, but mental practice can also be fun. And we get to think about these things on the trail that will help bring levity and lightness and maybe a little bit of
kind of a fun game.
Yeah, it might be, oh, I can't do this because then I won't make my prediction. I can't do this because then I can't make my prediction. So I'm not going to do that.
And this is, we're not letting each other see our answers until after.
We'll do it blind.
Whenever we get off trail, hopefully at Canada, we'll be able to go through. So here's a couple of our favorite predictions. So what section will be the hardest physically? What section will be the hardest mentally? How many shoes will we go through? How many audiobooks will we listen to? How many bears will we see? Rattlesnakes? How many zeros will we take? A couple of my personal favorites is who will go to urgent care first, or who will be the first to talk the other one out of quitting. Let's see. How many peanut butter jars will I go through?
Oh no, I don't even want to go.
And this is how many blisters will we get? And one of my personal favorites, how many nights will we cowboy camp? Because I find it kind of enjoyable. She not so much. But I mean, at the same time, we both don't like reptiles or anything like that. And the thought of waking up with a snake next to me, I don't know. Now, last but not least, we have our what if and when I statements. Now, this comes from the book Pacific Crest Trails that we previously mentioned. If you have to choose any book to read before going on a hike, this is the book to read. It's so useful, and it's not even that big of a book. I read it in less than 24 hours. And some of the statements are kind of like, if I come off the PCT, I will feel like this, like, you will feel like you've let yourself down, or you'll feel like, yeah, I didn't make it, but I've accomplished this great journey. And this is kind of to hold yourself accountable. Just, you keep them on your phone or something that you can have while you're on trail. So you can, in those moments of like considering to quit, you can look at these and you can see this is what happened if I do go off trail. Another thing is, if I successfully thru hike the PCT, I will be, I'll be a badass, or I'll be so proud of myself, I'll be athletically fit, or whatever you need to motivate yourself. Another one is I am hiking the PCT because, so I'm hiking the PCT to find out what I want to do with my life, or for to know I can do this great athletic accomplishment, or to challenge myself, or to come to know myself more in a mental way, or whatever. And
whatever your reasons are.
Yeah, whatever your reasons are. And you write these down so that when you're on trail and you have those trials, you can look back and see these and know this is why I'm on the trail. And that can be a huge mental booster while you're on trail. So those are a couple of things that we are going to do to mentally prepare. Yeah. And I think that's everything.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
So we'll see you on the trails.
Do, do, do.